Well, congratulations on the film, Julianne.
Thank
It's
you.
incredible.
Thanks.
And what I loved about it was the fact that it was a very kind of feminine story, but it crossed
Right.
over sort of genders and generations as well. It felt very accessible. Was that kind of something you wanted to bring across as well?
Yeah, I think I love this movie. I love Sebastian Lelio's work. I think he's he's a humanist, and in all of his films you see this very intimate observation of what it means to be a human being. And so I like that she is so intimately observed that the audience begins to feel like they're watching themselves. He shoots her in a way where she's actually in every single frame of the movie, and the only people who really see her in her entirety are the audience members. Everybody else in her life just sees these little pieces of her, but the audience sees her fully.
And I understand you were a fan of the original
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
What was it about that story that really kind of grabbed you and drew you in?
It was so joyful, It was so incredibly joyful and such a wonderful depiction of the drama of an ordinary life, of a regular life. I think of the way we all feel about our lives, and I think how we wish that we could live. I mean, I think Gloria is an incredibly admirable character. The way she engages in her life and with other people in her life, it's really wonderful to watch.
And why did you particularly want to make sort of a remake? Because I understand that you went to Sebastian and sort of
Right.
said, I want to chat to you about this film. What was it, what inspired you to kind of...
I wanted to work with Sebastian.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I mean, I had seen his movie and loved it so much, and we actually happened to share a manager, and so I said I wanted to meet with him, and he was living in Germany at the time, and I was in Europe to do some work, and so we met, and had a long conversation, but he was under the impression that I didn't want to remake the movie, and so he was like, well, I know you don't want to do this. I said, well, I would do it if you directed it. And he was like, well, I would do it if you were in it. And then we were like, okay, I guess we'll do it one of these days.
And how was it on set as well? How was it working with him? Working with him for the first time, what was that like?
It was great. It was really, really wonderful. He's incredibly thoughtful. And I think what you can see it, in A Fantastic Woman, you can see it in Disobedience, the way that he observes people and lets them unfold, the intimacy with which he films them, the kind of like love in his gaze. I mean, he's an extraordinary filmmaker. I loved every minute of it.
And it looked like a lot of fun as well to make. You've got a lot of dancing scenes, a lot of music in this as well. What was your sort of favourite thing to do, sort of favourite song to dance to? Because you obviously got a lot of movement in this. I mean, there's a lot of expression. Was there a particular moment where you really felt like so totally in character and you just because I feel like it was a great expression of her kind of letting loose and just living her best life, basically.
Right.
Was there any ever kind of like the song that came on or the dance that you really, really enjoyed?
I'm trying to remember. I think something that was really memorable is the first dance that I had with John Turturro in the club, and I think it was a Barry White song. And I actually don't know if that Barry White song ended up in the movie, because sometimes you dance to certain things and then you can't afford the song; it's replaced with something else later. But the whole idea of a scene playing out in the middle of a dance, because you sort of see them begin to dance together and then really connect and then kind of get closer and closer and then end up touching each other. So that was a really exciting sequence to get to film with John.
And I understand you also worked with the choreographer for La La Land for the final scene, which is amazing because it's really kind of Gloria coming into her own and sort of having that wonderful conclusion. What was that like to work with her?
It was great. Mandy Moore is wonderful, and I think she starts, I'm not a dancer, clearly, and she starts from a place of like what's natural to your body. So we would dance and warm up, and then there would be things that she would take from what was natural to me, and we'd begin to string them together and build the transitions, and so that everything came out of what my body could do, what Gloria, Gloria's also not a trained dancer, so it's like how she'd express herself. So it ended up being really, really personal.
And this is obviously quite a feminine film as well, as we mentioned before. And I was talking to Sebastian, he sort of said it was, while it wasn't so much the agenda of, at the moment we're very much talking about women in film and women's roles in sort of behind the screen as well as in front of, do you think it was important to kind of bring across a feminine role in sort of a time now where things are shifting? And, he said to me, back in 2013, it was very different. The world was a very different place to how women in film are between now and then, between now. Do you think, was that an important element in making this film?
I don't know that I thought of that. I think as a person, as a human being, I'm always looking for what is the fullest representation of that human being. And because I happen to be a female human being, obviously that's something that I'm very interested in. I think, I think portraying someone like Gloria, giving her a whole movie to herself, giving her that kind of that scale, that scope, I think is great for everybody, because it forces an identification with someone who you don't usually identify with, and it makes your identification as a human being that much broader. So and the more we can do that with all different kinds of characters, with people of different sexes and ages and places in life and abilities, the more we can identify with one another as human beings, I think the better off we are.